Russia officially annexes 4 Ukrainian regions, while here at home, the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill comes under heavy scrutiny. Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. Today is the 30th of September 2022. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Jayamal Ratnayaka. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Chief suspect of the Gampaha Pahalagama robbery killed in police fire. Orchestrators of the Aragalaya must be arrested. A social reintegration program must be launched for youth misled through it. A proposal from parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa will not allow activists of the Aragalaya to be forced into rehabilitation camps through the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill. Multiple factions defiant. Parliamentarian SM Marika moves court against Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill. Sri Lanka's inflation in September exceeds 69%. Food inflation approaches 95%. Former President Sirisena files writ against notice issued on him by the 4th Magistrates Court.
In our top story for tonight, the suspect who stabbed a man during a snatch and grab incident in Pahalagama Gampaha on the 20th of September was killed in police fire last night.
On the 20th of September 2022, when a power cut was in effect, motorcycle thieves, a man and a woman, attempted to snatch a handbag of another woman in Pahalagama Gampaha. The two women were heading home on that fateful night, and when the incident took place, the motorcycle rider stabbed to death the 29-year-old husband of one of the women during a tussle that ensued. The man's father was also seriously injured in the incident. Police officers launched an investigation and visited the Madhurita area in Gampaha to arrest the suspects. And during the arrest, the male suspect had attempted to stab a police officer. Police officers had then opened fire at the suspect and he was rushed to the Gampaha hospital where he died upon admission.
The dogs were barking. When we looked outside, we saw the jeep. 4 men ran to one side and then I heard the shots. The woman was pleading with them. They grabbed the man from either side and put him in the jeep. We live in constant fear. We have to escort our children as well. We are anyway afraid when there are reports that bags are being snatched.
The deceased was identified as Janakala Santha, a resident of Kossovita, Ganemulla. He was a 36-year-old father of one. Investigations have revealed that the deceased was a drug peddler and was involved in snatch and grabs with his wife. His 26-year-old wife was arrested as investigations revealed as she was the accomplice in snatch and grabs. Gampaha Chief Magistrate Manjula Pushpakumara conducted the magisterial inquest. According to Sri Lanka Police, the husband-wife duo were addicted to drugs and were 2 wanted suspects.
In more headline-making news, SLPP policymaker Namal Rajapaksa says those who orchestrated the Aragalaya must be arrested, while young groups who supported it must be entered into a social reintegration program.
Namal Rajapaksa is currently engaged in efforts to restructure the SLPP and met party supporters in Nugathalawa Valimata today. Although the media was not permitted to cover the event, the parliamentarian spoke to the media following the meeting.
No, such a proposal has not been initiated as the ruling party. However, what we must keep in mind is that there are young people who joined the Aragalaya at one point. It is not right to remand them and issue police reports against them, rendering them unable to even apply for a job. They attempted to burn down my house as well. My wife's house was set on fire, so was our ancestral home. Our opinion is, those who led it should be punished, but those who joined it purely because of the trend should not be arrested and incarcerated, especially when the orchestrators roam free. The groups who led this must be arrested, but those who followed their lead must be reintegrated into society. Contrary to parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa's claims, the Minister of Justice presented a bill in Parliament on the 23rd of this month. It was named the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill. It had proposed setting up a rehabilitation bureau to rehabilitate ex-combatants, members of violent extremist groups, drug addicts and other persons in need of rehabilitation. The bill also bears provisions to use the armed forces for this purpose. A broad discourse has currently emerged over the matter, centering a school of thought which claims such an act will allow activists of the people's struggle to be held in camps for prolonged periods under the guise of rehabilitation. Earlier today, parliamentarian of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya S.M. Marika challenged this bill in court through a petition filed at the Supreme Court.
This is similar to how Americans held the Japanese in camps. Hitler held millions of Jews in camps who were killed later. This is an attempt to introduce army camps with the view of intimidating people. It is a stark violation of democracy. The ideal place for us to challenge this is court, because this dilutes the people's freedom. We moved court, seeking to invalidate the Gazette as well. The coincidence of this matter is, it was revealed just before he left for Japan. The High Security Zone Gazette was published just before. Many Japanese citizens suffered back in the day. They spent their entire childhood in camps. They do such things and attempt to restructure our debt with Japan. We will continue to fight against this. Vasanta Samarasinghe of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna expressed the following views regarding the bill. As of now, Ranil Rajapaksa is trying to rehabilitate Aragala activists. Those who must be rehabilitated are in Parliament and the Cabinet. But he is trying to rehabilitate the members of the struggle. You must be rehabilitated. You are addicted to stealing, suppression and corruption. Is the departure of Gotabe wrong? If so, Gotabe must come back. The cabinet members' brains must be tested and should be sent to the rehabilitation centres. They are addicted to corruption. Former parliamentarian Hirunika Premachandra expressed the following views.
We don't know when we will be taken for rehabilitation. A few months ago, Ranil Rajapaksa was told by the trial that the Aragale activists must be rehabilitated. Just like how a father gives what his child wants, Ranil is doing what Namal pleases. They are trying to send them to a camp. Ranil is trying to start the mission to get rid of the next youth leader and silence the youth movement. The United States did a similar thing after the Second World War. They sent Japanese nationals who were involved in the internment camps. Given that, the president's visit to Japan for the sake of securing democracy is humorous. He's going there and promising the leaders of Japan that he will uphold democracy. The US did what Ranil is doing to Japan after the Second World War.
Former Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena filed a writ petition at the Court of Appeal today seeking an order to invalidate the notice issued on him by the 4th Magistrates Court regarding a case on the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks.
In his writ petition, the former president has sought for an order to be issued invalidating the notice issued on him by 4th Magistrate Tilina Gamage on the 16th of this month, naming him a suspect of the Easter Sunday attacks case and noticing him to appear in court on the 14th of October 2022. The writ petition notes summoning him to court over a private plaint against a backdrop where he has no connection to the Easter Sunday attack series is unjustifiable and goes against the doctrine of natural justice. The 4th Magistrate and its registrar have been named as respondents in the petition. Notice was issued on the former president over a private plaint filed by Reverend Father Cyril Gamini and a survivor of the Easter Sunday terror attacks that took place on the 21st of April 2019 at the Kochikade Church.
Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa revealed today that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna cooked up a plan to destroy his political career by appointing him as the country's Prime Minister.
මිත්‍රවරුනි මටත් කිව්වා අගමැතිකම ගන්න. Gotabe
Rajapaksa requested me to take up the post of Prime Minister. They didn't offer me the post for the benefit of the people or the country. I got to know that they planned to bring forward a no confidence motion against me as the SLPP has the majority with 113 seats. That was proven. 134 votes were cast in favour of the main protector of the Rajapaksas, the current president. They were planning to remove me from the premiership through a no-confidence motion a few weeks after the appointment, thereby ruining my character and my political career. They thought I would fall for their tricks. I am not that foolish. A few days before that, we marched from Kandy to Colombo. We chanted "Gota Go Home" in the march. After chanting "Gota Go Home," can I accept the premiership from Gotabe?
ගෝට ළඟට ගිහිල්ලා එයාට හාදු දීලා අගමැති හැටියට දිවුරුම් දෙන්න.
Sajith Premadasa was speaking at an event to distribute agriculture equipment and also commented on the proposed Bureau of Rehabilitation.
කී දෙනෙක් අර පුනරුත්ථාපන කාර්යයන් සියාසට යයි දන්නේ නැහැ.
I don't know how many will be sent to the Rehabilitation Bureau, but they cannot stop the people's struggle through this. We will not let that happen. I will protect the peaceful activists who fought on behalf of the entire nation. Those who brought chaos to the country and those who stole from the people must be put in rehabilitation centers. This corrupt Rajapaksa family government and the 134 who supported it must first be sent to the rehabilitation centers. Their brains must be tested. The thieves must be sent there first.
ඒ හොරු ටික පුනරුත්ථාපනය කරන්නට.
A delegation from Gammadda called on the Mahanayaka Theros of the Askari and Malwatu chapters of the Siam sect earlier today to present the research report of the 5th edition of the Gammadda door-to-door program. The delegation also obtained blessings from the Mahanayaka Theros for the 6th edition of the Gammadda door-to-door program that will commence soon.
Gammadda is well known among all Sri Lankans, young and old, as the people's force that brings about a new beginning for the villages and towns of Sri Lanka. Gammadda, by the people, for the people, implements these projects by identifying the real needs of the local populations. The needs of the people were identified following an extensive and streamlined study of the findings in the Gammadda door-to-door program that was implemented 5 times before along with the University of Peradeniya. The COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis have forced the people of Sri Lanka to undergo various hardships. Gammadda is ready once again to identify the socio-economic issues of the people of Sri Lanka. The 6th edition of the Gammadda door-to-door program will be launched soon, and it is expected to cover hundreds of villages spread out across Sri Lanka. The Gammadda delegation first called on the Mahanayaka of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero, at the Malwatu Mahavihara and presented the research report of the 5th edition of the Gammadda door-to-door program and apprised the Mahanayaka of the 6th edition of the program. Professor Tilak Bandara of the University of Peradeniya, Executive Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group Shivan Daniel and Director General Manager of Newsfirst, Yasarat Kamalsiri, among others, were present for the meeting.
අපි මහානායක හමුදුනේ මේ ගෙයින් එක ආය යන ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රශ්න එකතු කරන වෙලේ මේ ලබන සතියේ ඉඳලා ආයි පටන් ගන්නවා. තෝම වැඩ කරනවා අපිට පොඩියටනේ පටන් ගත්තා හැබැයි දැන් ගම්මැද්ද රට වටේම ගොඩක් වැඩ කරනවා. මහානායක හමුදුන්ගේ ආශිර්වාදය අපිට හැම වෙලාවෙම ලැබුණා.
Thereafter, the 5th edition of the research report was presented to the Mahanayaka of the Askari chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thero, and the Mahanayaka Thero was apprised on the 6th edition of the program.
අපි අර පෙරාදෙණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේම කලින් දරපු අධ්‍යයන ප්‍රණාලික වෙනස් මොනවලකින් මේවා අධ්‍යයනය කරන්න හිතුවේ. ඉතින් හැම පැත්තක්ම ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරලා තමයි හිතුවේ අධ්‍යයනය කරන්න. පුළුල් දැක්මක් ඇතුළු
හරි සැලසුම්ගතව තමයි මේ හැමදාම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අපි ගෙයින් ගෙට වැඩ පිළිවෙල හරහා අපි දත්ත ටික රැස් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මානකමඳුනේ ඒ දත්ත හරහා විශ්ලේෂණය කරලා අපි තීරණයක් ගන්නවා. හරි අපි මේ අවුරුද්දේ මෙන්න මේ ව්‍යාපෘති ගැන බලනවා කියලා. ඊට අමතරව මානකමඳුනේ මේ ජාත්‍යන්තර විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ඇමරිකා විශ්වවිද්‍යාල දෙකක් විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ ගම්මැද්ද කියන ව්‍යාපෘතිය ගැන අධ්‍යයනයක් කරලා ඒ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ළමයින්ට මේ ගම්මැද්ද ගැන උගන්වන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. ලංකාවේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක් අමුතු විශේෂ දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා මේ ජනතාව විසින්ම කරන දෙයක්. ඒක ලෝකයට උගන්වන්න ඕනේ කියන මත හිටගෙන ඒගොල්ලන් ඒ ළමයින්ට උගන්වනවා. ඒකත් ලොකු ජයග්‍රහණයක් කියලා අපි එහෙමයි.
The Gammadda teams, along with the University of Peradeniya, will reach Sri Lankan villages soon.
Gammadda V-Force went to Kandy today for a special program to mark World Children's Day that will be celebrated tomorrow. During COVID-19, V-Force was involved in multiple online leadership training sessions, and this was their first time out together after the pandemic to support the community.
The V-Force team left for Kandy by train from the Fort Railway Station in Colombo. The destination was the Apeksha Children's Home in Digana, Kandy, and the V-Force visited the premises to bring joy and happiness to the children ahead of World Children's Day. The teams were involved in cleaning the premises, enhancing the capabilities of the students, tree planting and other related activities. Based on the Turukapakaru concept, the V-Force teams planted 200 saplings around the Apeksha Children's Hospital. Footwear manufacturer DSI provided school shoes to the children at the Apeksha Children's Hospital in Digana, Kandy as part of the program. Pranisha Tyagaraja, the winner of the Voice Teens Sri Lanka, also took part in today's V-Force program. In addition, the program was supported by Govinda Devaraja from Germany and Harsha Dias from Rajagiriya. V-Force is ready to introduce several more projects in the near future.
News First with the people.
News on Sri Lanka's inflation rate for this month will come your way after the short commercial break.
News First, main sponsor.
Anka ege arakshita iti gini petti. Surya gini petti.
නිවෙස පුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ Eslon Insight. Eslon ජීවයයි ජලයයි ජීවිතේ.
Here's a complete revolution. 25 for 50. Now, LB Finance introduces a high interest rate of 25% for your 50-day fixed deposits. LB Yasa Isuru, an unparalleled reward for a trusted deposit.
Welcome back to the news. According to Sri Lanka's Department of Census and Statistics, the country's food inflation spiked over 94% in September 2022.
Sri Lanka's food inflation had spiked to 94.9% in September 2022. Year-on-year inflation was measured at 69.8% in September 2022. Visit www.Newsfirst.lk for more details on the inflation spike.
As you know, Sri Lanka's economic crisis is driving millions of people into poverty, jeopardizing their right to a proper meal. A loaf of bread used to be the cheapest meal for a family. However, by today, families are moving away from bakeries due to high price and economic woes. Newsfirst's Tina Marian reports from Colombo.
This is Jagat, an owner of a bakery in suburban Colombo. Over the years, this bakery, employing over a dozen workers, used to make profits and had a high demand for bread, buns and other products. But today, this bakery is running at a loss. According to the bakery owner, high prices of raw material, shortage of gas, shortage of fuel and a shortage of firewood, daily power cuts are the main causes for bakeries like his to run at a loss, as there is no demand for bread like before.
The demand for bakery products has declined. Earlier, we used around 13 sacks of flour with 17 workers. But today, we can only afford around 5 to 6 sacks per day for production. It is clear that because people cannot afford the prices of bread, they are distancing themselves from bakeries. Raw material required for the production of bakery products has increased. We request the government to provide the raw material at affordable prices so that we can continue to operate. The situation is such that many bakeries are being forced to close down. We are not making profits. We need to provide job security to our workers. Therefore, we are not working targeting profits. Right now, we are baking bread and a large number will be unsold because the demand is low.
According to Jagat, his bakery used to produce around 400 loaves of bread and they are sold within a few hours. However, today, they can only produce around 200 loaves of bread and sadly, 50% or more goes to waste. He said people distancing themselves from bread due to high prices is forcing the bakery industry as a whole to face a very uncertain future. Bakery owners like Jagat were forced to go back to the firewood stove due to the shortage of gas, and the inability to source sufficient firewood is also a crisis faced by bakeries.
As the economic crisis takes its toll and prices skyrocketing, many bakery owners say their future is uncertain. Even at this moment, many bakeries across the country have been forced to shut down. Tina Marian, Newsfirst, Colombo.
In all local news, trade unions and mass organizations filed a complaint with the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission.
A complaint was filed with the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka against the government circular which limits public sector expression on social media. The complaint notes that issuing such a circular is a violation of fundamental rights.
They are trying to do away with the right to expression enshrined by the Constitution.
In short, the government is telling the people to be silent. This is the message they send to the public sector. The Health Ministry, some trade unions and persons want to cover up a report on malnutrition. Public sector employees are revealing about fraud and corruption, and the government wants to stop it. They want to stop leaks on various legislations. They want to prevent information on injustice from reaching the public.
A signature campaign that commenced from Jaffna demanding to immediately repeal the PTA took place in the Badulla district on Friday.
We see the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri in Geneva promising the international community that they would appoint a truth-seeking commission if needed, but at the same time we see high security zones being created in the country. It's on one hand, Minister Ali Sabri is promising the international community about finding the truth in the country in terms of war-related crimes, human rights violations, but at the same time civilians and citizens are oppressed in this country. So we urge the government to repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Numerous promises have been made that the Prevention of Terrorism Act will be repealed or that it will not be used till it's repealed, but however, even to date, people are being oppressed through the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The campaign from Jaffna will proceed to the Monaragala district and will conclude in the Hambantota district.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe proposed to establish an international university on climate change in Sri Lanka with the support of the Asian Development Bank in order to enable students from any country in the world to engage in educational activities.
President Wickremesinghe made this proposal during a meeting with the President of the Asian Development Bank, Masasugu Asakawa, held this morning at the Asian Development Bank headquarters in Manila. ADB President welcomed President Wickremesinghe upon his arrival at the ADB headquarters. President Wickremesinghe briefed the President of the Asian Development Bank on Sri Lanka's engagement with the International Monetary Fund. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe also engaged in a discussion with the professionals working at the Asian Development Bank.
Japan's finance minister has said that creditors must get involved in Sri Lanka's debt issue.
Japanese Finance Minister Sunichi Suzuki said on Thursday that Japan is prepared to do its part over Sri Lanka's debt issue, but other creditors such as China and India should also be involved in efforts to resolve it. Suzuki made the remarks after meeting with Ranil Wickremesinghe, President of Sri Lanka, which has reached a preliminary agreement with the International Monetary Fund on a $2.9 billion loan as the Asian nation needs to restructure its massive debt. Suzuki said he urged Sri Lanka during Thursday's meeting to provide the necessary information, make its own efforts to get China, India and other creditors involved and boost transparency.
Meanwhile, JICA has decided to provide additional support to procure medicine, responding to serious medicine shortages in Sri Lanka.
The Japan International Cooperation Agency will provide additional support to procure medicine as part of the project for strengthening COVID-19 response. Original input from the JICA for this project was to provide 300 million rupees worth essential equipment for the base hospitals in Teldeniya, Warakapola, Valikanda, Pimbura, Navalapitiya, Hinguraggoda, Karavanalla and Avisawella and District General Hospital Hambantota and to provide online training for strengthening capacities in the preparedness and development for diagnostics and treatment services to combat infectious diseases including COVID-19. The Japan International Cooperation Agency has decided to provide additional support to procure medicine under this project, responding to the serious medicine shortages in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka's citizenry undergo insurmountable woes on a daily basis. What effect will it have on Sri Lanka's next generation? Newsfirst's Nisa Suryarachi filed this report.
The people of Sri Lanka are facing the worst economic crisis since independence. Parents are under immense pressure to provide for their children, and children too are going hungry because of this crisis. This crisis bears a physical and emotional point of view.
Parents has lot on their lives due to the existing social and economic crisis. As a primary caregiver of the children, anyway, they have very important role to play when it comes to security and development of their children. Initial attachment and nurturing of the parents directly impacts their children's life later in their adulthood. The attachment between the child and the primary caregiver playing an important role to develop the brain of the child. Brain development directly links with the way they are interacting, where they showing their love and affection to the child. Research have indicated that the inconsistent parental love, nurture and inconsistent attachment styles directly affecting their hormone levels, brain development and then hormone levels, and then affecting their growth of the brain and the heart.
Due to the immense pressure adults face, it is often taken out on their children, and ultimately it is the innocent that have to pay for another man's woes.
When many new parents are eagerly waiting to hold their newborn babies for the very first time here at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital in Boralla, at the same time in Sri Lanka there are parents who are abandoning their children in the woods. But is it only the cruelty of the parents, or is it something else? Is there a hidden story behind it? This is the worst economic crisis Sri Lanka has faced since its independence in 1948, and people are unable to provide for their children as they are even unable to provide for themselves. That is the sad ground reality here in Sri Lanka. With the people, as always, I'm Nisa Suryarachi reporting for News First.
Is the National Hospital in Colombo running out of test kits and referring patients to private hospitals? News First's Sandro Satyajit reports from Colombo on these allegations.
President of the Academy of Health Professionals Ravi Kumudish alleges that the National Hospital of Sri Lanka does not have the necessary reagents to carry out tests, and that private hospitals are being referred for these tests.
Around 20 mandatory tests are not taking place at the National Hospital. All the patients are being directed to the private hospitals. The danger is that a person who does not have diabetes can be ruled as a person with diabetes. A person who does not need to be amputated might lose a limb. This is a threat to the patient. Unfortunately, no attention is being paid to this matter.
When asked whether there are enough reagents to be used for tests in the National Hospital, Dr. Kumara Wickramasinghe, the Deputy Director General at the National Hospital, says there is a shortage in the supply of reagents from the suppliers. When asked if he is aware of doctors who are referring patients to hospitals, he responded to our reporter saying that no official request has come through to him in this regard. However, he noted that despite a short supply, tests are not rescheduled at any cost.
I'm here at the National Hospital in Colombo, where people are going through their daily activities while allegations are being thrown from different parties, and allegations are also being defended. But despite this, we see that the people are in the middle of these allegations, going through the hardships that they do. Sickness waits for no one. Will the people wait for the truth? This is Sandro Satyajit for News First here in Colombo.
exclusive behind-the-scenes footage from the Sri Lanka Army from the 1st to the 10th of October at 9 p.m. on TV1.
In news from the Russo-Ukrainian war, Russian President Vladimir Putin officially marked the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions during a special ceremony at the Kremlin earlier today.
The people from Donbass, Kherson and Zaporizhia will become Russian citizens forever. The West is looking for another chance to break Russia, to break up our state and to basically bring our peoples to poverty and death. They don't need Russia, we need Russia.
Russia planned to annex around 15% of Ukraine that its forces control, as well as about 3% of Ukraine that it does not control, including front lines where Ukrainian soldiers are still fighting. For example, in the Donetsk region. The areas include a big chunk of eastern Ukraine known as Donbass, where high concentrations of ethnic Russians and Russian-speaking Ukrainians live. Russian-controlled Kherson region, Russian-controlled Zaporizhia. Taken together, Russia would be annexing at least 90,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. That is an area around the same size of Hungary or Portugal. This is some 1.6 times greater than the whole of Sri Lanka.
On to another developing story. Iran's president has warned that he will not accept chaos as authorities continue to crack down on protests that have swept across the country. These waves of protests began with the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was visiting Tehran when she was arrested by the morality police for allegedly violating a law surrounding the wearing of a headscarf.
The security of people's lives and belongings is a red line for the Islamic Republic. We cannot allow assaults against people's life and belongings. We can't allow some people to create chaos and disturb the security of the society.
The first protest took place after Mahsa Amini's funeral in Saqqez on the 17th of September, when women were filmed waving their headscarves in the air. Similar demonstrations were staged elsewhere in the Kurdish-populated northwest and in Tehran before the unrest reached dozens of other cities and evolved into the most serious challenge to the establishment in years.
I'm a man who was born and raised in a third world country. My demands might not be the same as women's demands. Women as individuals have their own rights.
Videos have shown women burning their headscarves and cutting their hair in public to chants of quote-unquote women, life, freedom, death to the dictator, and a reference to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. Fresh unrest were reported on Wednesday night amid a mounting death toll. State media have said that 41 people, including security personnel, and that more than 1,200 have been arrested. One human rights group has said at least 76 protesters have been killed by security forces, whom it accused of using disproportionate force and live ammunition to suppress peaceful dissent.
Coming back to news from here at home, Ponniyin Selvan Part 1 hit the screens today, the 30th of September, amid much fanfare. News First caught up with the fans for a reaction to Mani Ratnam's epic movie.
ஆயிரம் ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன் சோழ நாடு தன் பொற்காலத்தை அடைவதற்கும் முன்.
The film, a historical fiction, is adapted by Kalki Krishnamurthy's epic Tamil literary novel that encapsulates the power struggle that rattled the Chola dynasty. The 5-part book of Ponniyin Selvan, written by Kalki Krishnamurthy, is verbose and with utmost detailing.
It was really nice. Everyone should watch it.
It's a very successful film for director Mani Ratnam talent.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's about the history of the Chola dynasty, so it's a must-watch. It's a very grandiose movie, so I think everyone should watch at least once.
The first part of Mani Ratnam's Ponniyin Selvan is based on the most important moments that took place in the first 3 parts of the book. Technically, Ponniyin Selvan is a top-notch. Be it Ravi Varman's amazing cinematography or A.R. Rahman's excellent score, the movie drags his viewers to another world which Mani Ratnam created with so much of detailing.
The fourth edition of the Divi Savia program, supported by LOLC Holdings, seeking to support the most impoverished communities in Sri Lanka, continued for the 26th day. Today's program was carried out centering the Mannar district.
The aim of the Divi Savia program is to support low-income earners to get nutritious meals on a daily basis. Day 26 of the 4th edition, supported by LOLC Holdings, got underway in the Mannar district. Now, under the Divi Savia program, essential goods are being distributed to low-income families facing serious financial difficulties across Sri Lanka.
APAD Sri Lanka, a transnational disaster aid alliance dedicated to linking civil society and private sector organizations in humanitarian and development activities, concluded its search and rescue Swiftwater Level 1 training earlier today.
The Asia-Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management in Sri Lanka conducted a search and rescue Swift Water Level 1 at the Sri Lanka School of Military Engineering in Ambilipitiya. The program was conducted with the participation of 28 members, inclusive of both civil and military personnel, representing both private sector and the Tri-Forces respectively. The significance of this program was that this was a more inclusive training for both male and female participants to enhance their skills in swift water search and rescue. The training was provided by expert APAD Swift Water Search and Rescue trainers.
A press conference to announce the EVA All-Island Open Netball Tournament was held in Colombo today.
The tournament, organized by the Western Province Netball Association, is being held this year after a lapse of 4 years. Preparations have been made to conduct the tournament under 4 categories. These are A Group, B Group, School Group and Expert Group. The school category competitions will be worked off in under 15, under 17 and under 19 age groups.
This is the 66th tournament held by association. Regular sponsors ICL Brand Private Limited are sponsoring us for the 26th time. If it wasn't for their sponsorship, we wouldn't be able to host a tournament at this time. With love and respect, we accept the sponsorship given to us.
But this event per se, yes, after the post-pandemic, when we are trying to think things gets normal, it's a good timing, I would say, this year, toward the end of the year, to have the carnival. A lot to look forward to. From ICL and from the brand EVA, I would say EVA had always stood by the ethos of women, confidence, a brand that actually can be depended on by the females or the girls in the schools. In which way that we are very happy and proud to be part of this game. December is a time that we all want to come together, families, a business community, and as a country we all come together.
The tournament will be held on December 3rd and 4th at the Colombo Air Force Stadium.
Sri Lanka's T20 skipper Dasun Shanaka says that they are ready to make an impact during the upcoming T20 Cricket World Cup, which will kickstart in Australia next month.
He expressed these views while attending a media briefing at the SLC headquarters before the team left the island for the T20 World Cup.
Both Lahiru
Kumara and Dushmanta Chamira participated to our training camp and they are all prepared for the World Cup. My team is ready to make an impact this time during the World Cup. Bowlers cannot defend themselves by just 1 or 2 variations. They will have to have more variations. Ground conditions will differ in every game. If we take the batsmen, we always talk about our top order. Even our fielding is really good now. We hope to continue this rhythm during the World Cup.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. Take care, stay safe and have yourselves a good Friday.